Oké. Die knipt hier ook maar, hè? Kan ik niet die knop indrukken? Nee, hè? Niks.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
En de computer uitzetten. Input. Input received, zegt hij. Username. Kan ik hier niks meer mee? Nee. Ik dacht eventjes dat ik daar wat mee kon.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors.
Nee, daar staat daar wat op. Waiting input. 2 vakjes. Oh. Wacht eens. Ik moet het steeds overdoen natuurlijk. Om er meer te vinden. Dat ga ik even doen.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
Wat staat daar dan?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting
The
room.
end is never
Perhaps
the
he had
end.
simply missed a memo.
Uit.
No matter how hard Stanley
Hey,
looked,
apart.
he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Er staat allemaal the end is never the end is never the end. Ah. Hier, nummer 3. Ik ben echt op zoek naar die computers nu. Dat is 3. Cool.
Stepping into his man found a new space he felt safe in, that he would never leave it again in his life.
Nummer 4. Kom op. Nou, niet eens indrukken. Ja, 4. Cool. Ah. Nu is mijn computer anders. Nummer 5. Dan is hij vol, hè? Huh? Oh, knopjes. Oh, wat leuk, kan al die knopjes indrukken. De Stanley's hemel zijn de knopjes. Ik zal hem uitdrukken. Hoe staat stil? Nee, toch niet. Wat zingen ze nou dan? Oké. Dat is dus die. En ik kan ook naar... Ik kan ook de deur dicht doen.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Afgelopen. Ja, afgelopen.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Hé, we kunnen ook de broomklas in. Cool.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
Ik doe de deur dicht. Ligt hier allemaal.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
We blijven hier mooi.
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet. He wasn't even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way. As it is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA. Are you really still in the broom closet?
Yep.
Standing around doing nothing? Why?
Daarom.
Please offer me some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
Ik vind het leuk hier. Dat wil je niet, hè? Dat wil
You
je
do
niet hier
realize there's no choice or anything in here, right? If I'd said Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
Ja. Ik vind het leuk hier. Lekker
Maybe
wachten.
to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favourite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
Hier is dus geen
Stanley
einde.
was fat and ugly and really, really stupid. He probably only got the job because of a family connection. That's how stupid he is. That or with drug money. Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Hij vindt het niet leuk.
Well, I've come to a very definite conclusion about what's going on right now. You're dead. You got to this broom closet, explored it a bit, and were just about to leave because there's nothing here, when a physical malady of some sort shut down your central nervous system and you collapsed on the keyboard. Well, in a situation like this, the responsible thing is to alert someone nearby so as to ensure that your body is taken care of before it begins to decompose. Hello? Anyone who happens to be nearby? The person at this computer is dead. He or she has fallen prey to any number of your countless human physiological vulnerabilities. It's indicative of the long-term sustainability of your species. Please remove their corpse from the area and instruct another human to take their place at the computer, making sure they understand basic first-person video game mechanics and filling them in on the history of narrative tropes in video gaming, so that the irony and insightful commentary of this game is not lost on them. All right.
Fantastisch.
When you've done that, just step out into the hallway.
Is dit het? Is hij echt klaar? Echt waar? Hij zegt niks meer. Nee, hè? Goed gauw eruit.
Ah, second player. It's good to have you on board. I guarantee you can't do any worse than the person who came before you.
Oh, wacht maar. Jawel hoor.
You too? Unbelievable. I'm at the mercy of an entire species of invalids. Perhaps there's a monkey nearby you can hand the controls to. A fish? Fungus? Look, you can hammer out the details. I'm not particularly picky. I'll just be waiting for when you're ready to pick up the story again.
Is dit het echt nu? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ik sta al te wachten aan een bezemkast. Net te gek.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ja, nou dan. De whiteboard ending. Wat houdt het in? Hier op drukken. Console bark. Moet ik bark en tik ergens? Wat was Russell. Mark. Bark.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference. When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Hé, telefoon gaat. Welke? Deze?
Hello. This is a recorded message scheduled either by you or a person in your place of work. The purpose of this message is to warn you about the dangers of recorded messages. If at any time you believe you are listening to a recorded message, please terminate it immediately and cease all flow of information from the recorded message into your perceptual sphere. Thank you, and have a pleasant day.
Is dat het? Wat een idioot. Fantastisch.
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting. Was it a painting or a photo? He could no longer recall. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Oké, en nu kan ik hier zo uit. Ik kan het raam. Mazzel. En nu?
At first, Stanley assumed he'd broken the map, until he heard this narration and realized it was part of the game's design all along. He then praised the game for its insightful and witty commentary into the nature of video game structure and its examination of structural narrative tropes. So, now that you're here, what do you think? Isn't this a fun and unique place to be? Why don't we take a minute just to drink it all in? Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Oh. Are you sick of this gag? No.
Then in that case, we'll continue. But now, here comes the real question. What do you think would have happened if you had told me that you wanted this to stop? Do you think it would have been particularly different? Would I have taken the same idea but rephrased it superficially to fit that answer? Perhaps you never would even have thought of it if I hadn't brought up the issue in the first place. Oh, now think about it. Will it be worth it for you to restart and then come back here just to do the other option? Clearly, this whole gag takes some time. What if the other option is even longer? How long will you spend in total just to have heard all the narration? Oh, and this is rich. Perhaps you've just played the other option, and now you've come to see what happens in this one. So, what do you think? Which choice was the better one? Imagine if you had selected continue on your first playthrough, how tantalizing it would be not knowing what happens when you pick the other option. Indeed, you are one of the lucky ones. Though if the other option is really miserable to listen to, then perhaps you're not. In fact, I'm just going to say that no one who's listening to this is lucky. Well now, I've built up the other option so much that I'm going to stop talking and leave you to your decision whether to come back here, continue with the game, or just sit in this spot forever and ever. Cheers.
No. 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 Ik kan er niet weg. Yes. Ik kan hier echt niet meer weg. Oké. Dan gaan we opnieuw starten.
Okay, I'm over it now. What do you think? Are you sick of this gag yet?
Ja.
Well, I don't know how to say this politely, but you could literally just hit escape and restart the game any old time you want, like right now. You could have done it just then. Now would also be an appropriate time to quit. Any of these points and so many, many more, all of them are appropriate. I'm enjoying what seems to be an internal conflict going on where you are literally unable to act on your own desires to restart the game. So, just to push the envelope, I'm going to try and make this as miserable as possible and see how long you can maintain. There once was a man named Stanley, who people considered so manly. But the truth must be told, he was not very old and was quite particularly gangly. What Stanley liked most was buttons. He pushed them like some kind of glutton. He did it all day in a meaningful way, but his brain had long ceased to function. Which is why he is in this parable and lives an existence quite terrible. And if you are not strong and keep playing along, you too will become quite unbearable.
Yes.
You too will become quite unbearable.
Fantastisch. Blijft het nu doorgaan, die muziek? Ik heb geduld hoor. Ja, ik denk dat het door blijft gaan. Nou, dan beginnen we overnieuw. Oké, ik heb begrepen dat ik het spel moest starten met
All
de
of his
console.
co-workers were
Dat heb ik
gone.
gedaan.
What could it mean?
En
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
nu gaan we de console openen. Dat wil. Kan ik ook bark typen? Huh? Bark. Of bark. Nee, dat wil niet. Het zag toevallig op bord staan. We proberen, dit is de Half-Life engine, hè? Dus we gaan proberen cheats aan te zetten. Cheats 0, maken we cheats 1 van.
Stanley, this is me being serious. In fact, this is my serious room. It's where I come to be serious. That table is the most serious table I could find. I looked at many, many tables, hundreds of tables. It's possible I looked at over 1,000 tables. I honestly don't know. The specific number isn't as important as the understanding that of all tables I looked at, this one is the most serious. I relate this story to impress upon you the extent to which this is the most serious room I have, which is why I brought you here. You just tried to activate server cheats, which of course runs the risk of breaking the entire game. You've got no respect for the strict order of scripted narrative events, and I just can't have that. It's time to get serious, Stanley. No jokes, no games. Outside of this room, I might be more tolerant of those things, but now we're in the room. Which is why I'm subjecting you to the most serious punishment I can think of. 100 billion trillion years standing here in the serious room. Perhaps after that, we can talk about the severity of your actions and whether you've learned anything. But until then, serious room, go.
Dus ik sta nu hier. En ik hoor het toevallig blaffen. Bark. Alles wat ik probeer is bark. Oké, we beginnen weer opnieuw. En we zijn weer terug.